BourbonBlog.com live. I'm with head distiller and partner in the Family Jones in Loveland and Denver, Colorado. It's my good friend Rob Masters. Rob, how's it going there at the distillery?
Good, Tom. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Cheers. We already got some of your bourbon poured, don't we?
Clink. Yes.
Clink. We're doing the virtual clink here as we do this every night. And that's a really beautiful bourbon, and it is called the Ella Jones. I really like your labels. You've done really well with a lot of these spirits in competitions. Let's just start off. Tell us about the Family Jones.
All right. So the Family Jones, we have two distilleries. First distillery that we're kind of mostly known for is in Denver. It's in the Highlands neighborhood, which is kind of just west of downtown. And that's where we have what we call the Spirit House. And that's a 50-seat cocktail room, kitchen, and then a distillery upstairs. If you Google it, you'll see a picture of it. It's pretty beautiful, if I must say so myself. So the facility there, the distillery there, is about research and development, doing one-off nerdy whiskeys, I like to say, and making liqueurs, modifiers, and spirits for the tasting room downstairs.
Right.
And then we have a production distillery up in Loveland, which is about an hour north of Denver. And that's where all the heavy lifting happens. We do all our grain processing. That's where I am right now. We do our grain processing here. We do all our milling and mashing, most of our fermentation. All of our barrels are here. And then most of our bottling happens here at the Loveland facility. So we've been around for about 3.5 years now. And things were going great until the recent times, but we'll get through COVID too. So.
Right. And you and since COVID, how has that affected you guys, and what's been happening there since the COVID shutdown?
Well, like most distilleries, we pivoted a little bit and made some hand sanitizer. Got that out to first responders and frontline people. We didn't make a ton of it, but we made enough to kind of take care of the people that were in our network, so to speak. But we kept production rolling the whole time. On top of making hand sanitizer, we've been racking whiskey and bottling new things like Ella Jones, which we're trying right now, and our American whiskey, which we'll talk about in a bit.
And this is this bourbon is very new then on the market.
Yes, this was just launched 2 weeks ago. So, yep, it's only in the state of Colorado. Unfortunately, I would love for it to be out in bourbon land there, but we're pretty happy with it as a Colorado product. It's all Colorado grains. So.
Very nice. Tell me about. I see it's the 75 corn, 15 rye, 10% malted barley. This is batch one. Tell me what your aim was and what you think you achieved here, because I think it is very tasty.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, we're very proud of it. So the average age there is 2.8 years old. It's a blend of 18 different barrels. The oldest barrel was 3 years almost to the day, and the youngest barrel was 2.5 years. And that averaged out to about 2.8 years old. So when we started making whiskey, we put a line in the sand and said, no whiskey comes out of the barrel earlier than 2 years. And then when we started blending things and tasting through barrels, we decided that the bourbon needed to be 2.5 at its youngest. We definitely noticed a change between 2 and 2.5 years. So the youngest in this blend is 2.5 years old. So all Colorado grains. We've only ever bought grains from Colorado farmers, 4 different farms. We like to say we shook the hand of every farmer we've ever bought grain from. Wow. We're very big into working directly with the farmer. Working with them on all sorts of different things, helping them, figure out if their combine is down, where they can find another combine. We did that last year with a farmer. Whenever one of our farmers has something they need help with, they know they can call us, and we'll help however we can with our team. So.
And this is, of course, all Colorado grain. How do you think the terroir of Colorado has come through in the flavor as far as being 100% Colorado? Because obviously and understandably, a lot of distilleries everywhere get grains from all across the country to get a desired flavor. But this is tasty. What happened here with this?
Yeah, well, there's 2 things that I think Colorado did to put its fingerprints on this whiskey. First, of course, is the grain. You could grow the same seed of rye and corn and malt in Kentucky as you do in Colorado, they're going to come out different because the climates are different. We are high altitude, arid, dry, lots and lots of sun, low humidity. It's going to make a different grain coming out of the field. The malter that malted this grain is actually about 5 miles down the road from us in Berthoud, Colorado, or Loveland, between Berthoud and Loveland. It's called root shoot malting. And so this is, as they say, craft malted. So he does very small batches of malting. So he's going to leave his fingerprint on it as a Colorado malter. And then finally, the aging. We're sitting in our rack house here right now, and there's no humidity in here. We don't humidify, and we don't temperature control this room. So our angel share on 2.8 years old was right about 20%, which is really high.
That is high.
You tell a lot of Kentucky guys that's you're gonna have 20% on a almost 3-year-old product, and they're gonna think you're crazy. But I think it goes a long way towards kind of providing a flavor that you're just not going to be able to get somewhere else. Whether it's good or bad, better or worse, that's not what I'm in for. I'm in for different. I'm looking to make something that's different, that is Colorado centric.
Right. It is really interesting, and some incredibly unique flavors. I mean, I get those nice sweet flavors. I get a nice, almost a really elegant dry finish. I'm still working my way around the whole profile. It has a very elegant, nice finesse to it. It tastes, I think, older than 2.5/3 years. I mean, it has that depth of character. What kind of barrels are you using there?
So we use all independent stave barrels. So it's the Craft Distillers char number 3. American oak, of course. Yep. So that was one area that I didn't really want to mess with too much. So all Colorado grains, fermented, aged, all the things in Colorado. We get very nerdy when it comes to yeast selection. We like to use kind of other than standard yeast. But when it came to barrel aging, I did not want to mess around with that. And so I went with the classic, the ISC that's been around for generations. So and all 53-gallon barrels as well.
What size?
All 53s.
All 53.
Actually, I take that back. This blend has 2 30-gallon barrels in it.
Okay.
When we first started, there was still a barrel shortage. And so I was only able to get my hands on 30-gallon barrels for the first order. So I think I had 6 30-gallon barrels in the company. Otherwise, we've only ever bought 53s since then.
Excellent. No, and of course, Independent Stave Company there does an amazing job for the industry. And I tell you, the more I'm tasting it, I really get this nice creamy note towards the end. There's this kind of almost lemon meringue thing that happens at the end. That's really lovely.
Thanks. Yeah.
It goes a lot of places. What do you get on it? I'm still figuring it out. That's one thing I got was the lemon meringue, creaminess, dry finish, maybe a little bit of some type of a roasted nut. What do you like to get when you get on?
Well, one thing that I'm big into is tropical fruits, and when we taste the rye whiskey here, I think you'll pick up the tropical fruits a little bit more in that one than this bourbon. I think the sweetness of the corn hides those tropical fruits. It's papaya, mango, coconut a little bit. And I do pick that up because of the rye element in this whiskey. I definitely get the spiciness, of course. And then the malt, this was a pale malt, so not a whole lot of malt character added to this one. We actually, a couple months ago, switched up our malt to go from a pale malt to a little bit higher roast on our malt. So our whiskeys a couple years from now should pick up just a little bit more malt character than this first batch.
Yeah, this is really lovely. The Family Jones, and again, it is Ella Jones. Now, who are the Joneses? Who's Ella Jones?
Yeah, so when we created the Family Jones, we had a number of things that we wanted to do, but most importantly, we wanted to be all inclusive. We wanted to be a company that anybody could get along with, that anybody was welcome in. And so Jones is an all-American name. Everybody knows somebody named Jones. It's and it's kind of fun to say, to be honest. But so the Family Jones was kind of created in that way. And then we have these different characters. We have Ella Jones, which is our Colorado straight bourbon. Atticus Jones, which is our Colorado straight rye whiskey. We have Automatic Jones, which is our ready-to-drink line, cocktail line. Annika Jones vodka, which is a Scandinavian style of vodka. Juniper Jones gin, Juniper, of course, for gin. And then Mo Jones rum from a molasses-based rum. The reason we went with Ella on the bourbon is if you look at the label,
yep.
Here's my bottle. Female, of course. So the kind of inspiration behind this was Rosie the Riveter. You know, all the strong, powerful females in the world and in our lives and as part of our family were really the inspiration behind Ella Jones. You know, getting your hands dirty and you know, somebody who's not afraid to just step up and get the job done. So.
And it's Ella Jones. She's lighting a match there in her hands and giving a little fire to that char. I like it. This is
yeah.
tasty.
That was the that was kind of a nod to the barrel, right? The char.
Yes. At 94 proof. Again, this just came out a few weeks ago. Only available in Colorado. It's really a unique bourbon. I think that the nice thing about using these grains is you've really allowed Colorado, your terroir, your region to speak and to really showcase what it has on your product. So well done with the Ella Jones, and we may even be seeing some of these spirits in other markets at some point, right?
Yeah, someday. Of course, COVID kind of slowed down everyone's plans. So
right.
I would love to tell you when, but someday we'll get outside the state. I will say that our Atticus Jones rye release. So we only release our whiskeys twice a year. Bourbon comes in the spring, and rye whiskey comes in the fall. And what we release in those releases is all we have for the year. And Atticus Jones, the rye whiskey, sold out in a matter of weeks. And that's all we have until next year. So at least with our rye whiskey release, which is a little bit smaller than our bourbon release, we've been able to sell everything that we've made. So we honestly don't have the stock to go outside the state right now, but someday.
Well, I like how you're doing it. You're definitely, you're doing it the right way. You're growing this at the right pace. I'm going to pour a little rye. I want to show a photo of this this tasting room you have downtown, because I think it's so interesting to talk about. I'm going to pop a photo up here, just the first one I could find, and hopefully this will work. It should. Let's see here. And did that work? Yes. So there is your tasting room. In downtown Denver. You can see on the top there, it is a distillery. You distill. Back there is the bar. You do food. You do even you make your own bitters. You make all those things.
Yeah, everything's done in house. So in Colorado, we have a manufacturer's permit, which means our tasting room can't serve beer or can't serve wine. It can only serve spirits that we make. Wow. So everything across that bar, served across that bar, is stuff that we make in house. That's so cool, and it'll be exciting. I know you guys have missed being there, and with COVID, it'll be exciting to get there to Denver and to see that. It was actually, you were telling me yesterday, it was named the best bar in downtown Denver. What was the title you received there? Yeah, so Eater, the big foodie blog Eater, named us Denver's best bar, period. Not just best tasting room, but best bar, which was super humbling because we have Death & Co. in Denver. We have Williams & Graham, which won Cocktail Bar of the Year a couple years ago at Tales of the Cocktail. So, there's a lot of amazing cocktail bars in Denver, and Eater chose us. So we're very, very proud of that, particularly because we make it all in-house. So
that's so cool that you do that, and congratulations on that title. And I think it's so interesting for those of us in other states to see, it's all the spirits are yours. You make the bitters, you make everything you would add to a cocktail, and it's not only a taste room, but a bar, all made by you, that falls under the category of sort of a tasting room, but it's also a bar or a restaurant. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
We have a great team. Our team from the day we opened has been amazing. So we're very fortunate.
Congratulations on that. That is really cool.
Thanks.
All right, now we are moving on to Atticus Jones, the rye whiskey, and and the imagery here is just so unique and creative.
Yeah.
What's this? This man is holding a kind of a pocket piece.
It's a pocket watch. There's no substitute for time, is my opinion, when it comes to
Yeah.
aging. You know, there's so much that happens in the barrel and the aging process. Some of it can be rushed, not rushed. Some of it can be sped up, I should say. And that's a style decision. If you want to age a whiskey in a smaller barrel, that's a style decision. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying it's a style decision. Our style decision is 53-gallon barrels, minimum of 2 years. And that was a decision we made from day one and we stuck to. And there's no substitute for time when it comes to esterification and oxidation, evaporation, filtration, all the things that happen in barrel aging. I just really believe that it's really hard to cheat that. So Atticus was a nod to time.
Nod to time. Cheers.
Cheers. And the name Atticus was inspired in some part to Atticus Finch from Mockingbird. You know, think about the older gentleman in a suit similar to yours, sitting on a front porch, whittling, you know, telling stories to the kids in the neighborhood, and you know, always has a good story. You know, you could be named Atticus, Tom.
I could. Maybe could be my spy name.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I could be the new Atticus. I like that, Atticus Finch or Atticus Jones. If I ever need a spy name, I'll keep that in my back pocket in case I ever get asked and don't want to give my real name. Not that that's ever happened, of course, even around whiskey, but it could happen, I suppose.
Yeah. You know, when you stay in hotels, when you start traveling again, you can get that name at the front desk. Yeah.
That's what it could be. Atticus Jones, I love it. Now I have a whiskey named after me. This is this again is just like the bourbon. It's very well balanced. A lot of really elegant flavors come through. It's easy drinking, but has some nice complexity.
Yeah, thank you. So this one was a blend of 12 different barrels. Youngest barrel being 2 years old to the day, and oldest barrel being 2 years and 8 months old. We also made a decision to hold all our mash bills at the same percentages. So the bourbon was 75 corn, 15 rye, 10 malt. This rye is 75 rye, 15 corn, 10 malt. We've also made a wheat whiskey. We've made a wheated bourbon. We held on to that 75, 15, 10 mash bill throughout every whiskey we've made. So, you know, the idea is someday we'll have this nice lineup when you come to the tasting room and you have a bourbon and a rye and a wheat whiskey and maybe a wheated bourbon or whatever. And they all have the same percentages, but different styles of grains. You can taste through that and see the differences. So it's kind of a teaching element that we were like, but I just love the balance of the 75, 15, 10. You know, there's just enough malt to give it some malt profile and get our conversions that we're looking for. The main grain, there's enough main grain in there to really stand out, and then just the right amount of modifier grain. So we're very happy with that.
Yeah, this is very nice. And again, this one's been out just for a little while.
That was released in September. Like I said, it sold out in a matter of weeks. That won gold in San Francisco this last year.
Wow.
So of all the medals we won in San Francisco, it's probably the one I'm most proud of, because this is blood, sweat, and tears. You know, this is milled, mashed, fermented, distilled, blended, aged, all on site. So you know, this is where all the hard work pays off. So
there's some nice in both the bourbon and the rye. There's some real nice subtle complexities. I mean, they seem like just real nice. You can get the age, but the complexities are just really subtle, but they're there. It has some nice finesse.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I really attribute that to yeast, honestly, more than anything. I think that a lot of people can kind of miss the mark when it comes to yeast. You know, I've worked with distillers in the past that are all about just buying the most simple daddy yeast, they call it. You know, and I just think that you're missing a lot of flavor development there. So yeast is a big deal for us. We like to stick with that.
Excellent. They're both very tasty. And again, we're talking with head distiller, if you're just joining us, Rob Masters of the Family Jones in both Denver and Loveland, Colorado. And we do this every night around 8 p.m. Watch us live on where you're watching us now, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Twitter or YouTube, and definitely bookmark this page, because we'll be bringing you more throughout the week. We're trying to focus on a lot of great craft distillers, brands that you might or might not have heard of, and bookmark that link too, bourbonblog.com/live, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And again, this is just available in Colorado, but it's something we can all follow you on Facebook, Instagram, all the great places you are. Your photography is incredible too. I mean, there's a lot of great storytelling you all have as a brand as well.
Yeah, we try. It's a big deal for us, you know,
Yeah.
to call ourselves the Family Jones and create this kind of all-inclusive family feeling, to find a way to get everybody in and excited and interested.
Right.
You know, we've really spent a lot of time getting the story right. So,
right. Yeah, it's a cool distillery. Now, in addition to the whiskeys, you have vodka, gin. What else do you guys make?
Yeah, vodka, gin, rum, rock and rye, which we'll taste here in a second, which is a ready-to-drink cocktail, basically a rye old-fashioned, if you will. And those are the products that are out in the world, outside of our four walls through distribution in Colorado. But then we also make a dozen or so modifiers and liqueurs for the bar program at Spirit House in Denver. So,
very nice.
Creme de Cacao, Creme de Violette, Absinthe, Amaro, you know, all the things, triple sec.
Your cocktails just look phenomenal. I was looking at the cocktail menu there up online, and it looks like such a forward-thinking program there.
Yeah. Like I said, we have an amazing team. Every bartender we've ever brought in has just been first class. So we're very, very fortunate in that regard. What
are the plans moving forward as far as distilleries reopening for tours in Colorado? What's that look like in your state? Because we've been following a lot of different states, but what's it like there?
Yeah, slow and steady is the way it goes in Colorado these days. Restaurants opened back up a little over 2 weeks ago, 50% capacity or 50 people, whichever is smaller.
Right.
So we've got that going for us. They didn't specifically call out distillery tasting rooms in the reopening, but it was determined that if we serve food, you could reopen if you wanted to. Okay. We at the Family Jones have decided not to reopen yet. We're just gonna kind of take it slow and see what happens, and see what the world brings us. And you know, we're also kind of looking at ways to reinvent ourselves a little bit, if you will. We're doing these cocktail pop-ups kind of every other weekend. With Ella Jones bourbon release, we did barbecue. So you know, I think it was like $70, got you a bottle of bourbon and barbecue for two, which included meat and sides and apple crisp, and it was absolutely delicious. It was really a great deal. And yeah, it was a fun way to kind of stay engaged with our fans and our friends and our family, without having to get too deep into opening up and all of the fun that brings. So
you've been doing that as a pop-up in Denver then the last
yeah, just at our Spirit House in Denver.
Nice.
I think this weekend is a rum pop-up. It's tiki drinks.
Tiki, very nice.
Yeah.
Tiki and barbecue. So that sounds like a winning combination. That's good. So are we going to try? You want to try the American whiskey next?
Sure, American whiskey.
And I'll hold that bottle up there. The American whiskey from. There we are. It says Jones House, the Family Jones.
Yeah.
Jones House,
so
American
Jones House,
whiskey.
we have two lines. We have our what we call our call line, which is what we've been tasting out of so far. It's all the grain to bottle stuff, all the fermented on site stuff, and then we have our house line. And in our house line, we have a vodka and we have a gin, which are a purchase neutral spirit. Redistilled the gin to get the botanicals in there, of course. And then we have this Jones House whiskey, which actually is just releasing this week. So RNDC is our distributor partner, and they got their first pallet of it late last week. And so the salespeople have it in their hands today. This is a blend of two different whiskeys. So I can say that it was not distilled in Indiana. No offense to your great state, Tom, but there's plenty of Indiana whiskey out there.
There is some of that, yes.
Yeah. So this is a blend of WDBM, so whiskey distilled from a bourbon mash.
Okay.
And as you know, maybe not many people know, bourbon has to be aged in brand new American oak barrels.
Right.
Well, this is a bourbon mash, but it was aged in recoopered barrels. So
my cat decided to join me in case you see
Yeah, our cat Sazerac should show up here.
This is our distillery cat Monroe.
Yeah, we have.
What's your distillery cat name?
His name is Sazzy, which is short for another company, which we don't like to say publicly because there have been C&D letters issued at points. So.
Oh, really? Just for Cat's
yeah.
name?
Well, he had his own Instagram at one point,
Yep.
so we had to change the Instagram.
So again, this is whiskey distilled from the mash itself. The mash
whiskey distilled from a bourbon mash.
Bourbon
It's a bourbon that was aged in recoopered barrels ultimately.
Right.
So it's a blend of that, and that's an 8-year-old product. So
this is
8-year-old WDB. Nice. And the mash bills on there is 84 corn, 8 rye, and 8 malt.
Yep.
And then the other whiskey in there is a 4-year-old straight rye whiskey. And the blend or the mash bill on that is 51 rye, 44 corn, and 5 malt. So, 2 pretty well balanced whiskeys. The WDBM is 8 years old. So it's got all that oxidation, it's got all that esterification,
right.
all the fun stuff that happens with age. It doesn't have a whole lot of char or smoke to it because of the recoopered barrels. But then that rye whiskey kind of brings that in, which is why we ended up coming up with the blend. So
yeah, this is so interesting. And so you don't tell, do you tell where it's distilled, or it's from Colorado? Or
I unfortunately cannot say where it's distilled.
But
I can say it was not made in Indiana. Yes, but it was made over in that part of the country.
In that part of the country, I really like it. I think it's extremely interesting. And I haven't, and maybe there's some of this that's out there, the whiskey distilled from bourbon mash, but is this something you see very regularly? I haven't seen much of that.
Well, it's typically used in blends. So, like big blenders or ready to drink cocktails, you make an old fashioned or something like that, where you don't necessarily have to show, most people are going to look at a label and look for straight bourbon. Right. Well, we can't label it as straight bourbon, but we can make a blend with it. So that's exactly what we did.
Well, I like, and maybe it's out there a lot. I just haven't seen it on bottles. I haven't seen that particular.
Right. I don't know that anybody.
The way you've broken down everything, I think it's just very smart and very informative. I like the way you've broken it down.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of good feedback about that. A lot of the store buyers and such like it because a lot of whiskey nerds, the people who watch this. They're into that. They want to know what's in their whiskey. They want to know what's in the mash bill. They want to know the story. And so we're trying to be as transparent as possible.
No, you're doing a great job. I love the balance here. I love there's a nice crispness to this.
I get a lot of grass. You get grassiness out of it without being grainy.
Kind of grassy, yes. It's fresh. It has kind of a nice herbal note. It has there's a lot of things happening, but very approachable. It's a very easy sipping, very relaxing, approachable whiskey. It's very nice.
Yeah. Thanks. It was fun to blend. We brought in a handful of barrels and just tasting through all of them. And one of the things with recoopered barrels, even more so than regular barrels, is they're all very different. So, these vary quite a bit from barrel to barrel. So.
Yeah. So many great, and I should say this too. And we spent some time together several years ago judging. Spirits competition in Breckenridge there at the Still on the Hill. I think that's how I first met you. Then I saw you many times.
Well, we met at Still on the Hill probably a couple years before that.
Before that, and then we judged the competition together. And I get back to Colorado as often as I can for events and competitions, and so many great things happening in the state of Colorado with distilling. How many total distilleries are now in Colorado?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. I'm pretty sure the number is over 100, but I don't know much beyond that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's a lot of people in Colorado, which is great. And, craft beer kind of paved the way for that. It kind of created the culture of people who were looking for craft products and looking for things with stories and want to meet the makers. So we've been very fortunate. And the laws are great here. We were able to self-distribute in our first 2 years. We didn't have to sign on with a big distributor. Which was great. We can have these awesome tasting rooms. So things are pretty good for distillers in Colorado.
So you can actually
grains, water,
self-distribute them.
We did self-distribute. We aligned with RNDC at the first of the year this year. Yep.
But
the first 2 years we self-distributed.
Distilleries can in the state of Colorado self-distribute.
Yes. Yep.
That's great. Well, I really like the American whiskey too. I think that the blend is again very well balanced. A lot of unique notes, like you said, grassy, fresh. Just some really interesting things happening. I didn't ask you what are the price points on your products, out of curiosity.
Okay, so the American whiskey is going to be under $40.
That's great.
I wish I knew exactly what that
That's
number
okay.
was. But
Yeah, it's all right.
yeah, it's not my part of it. I make the stuff. Somebody else gets to sell it. But yeah, so under $40 for the American whiskey for $7.50, and then Ella and Atticus, the two Colorado straight bourbon and Colorado straight rye, those are right around 50. So
Excellent.
yeah, yep.
Spot on. Those are all really delicious and just very very unique whiskeys. And whether you're in Colorado or you're heading that way, or you're someone who's going, I do recommend get some of these, try them out. You're a extremely forward-thinking craft distillery, and you're just doing some amazing stuff on all levels. And I haven't seen too many brands doing. I've seen a few, but for whether it's rock and rum or rock and rye, it's this is cool. I love this rock and rye. I've already tasted it.
Yeah.
What is a rock and rye for those that don't know?
Oh man, rock and rye. We're very, very proud of that product, first and foremost. So rock and rye is a pre-prohibition, prohibition era cocktail.
Yes.
Basically, back in the day, during prohibition, it was found in medicine cabinets everywhere as the cure for what ails you. Cure for the common cold. But basically, the rye whiskey that they were making wasn't very good because they were rushing it and they were just trying to get stuff on the market. And, whether it was the black market during prohibition or before prohibition. And so what they did is they would put spices and fruits and all sorts of fun stuff, and then rock candy into the rye whiskey to kind of clean it up, if you will, or more hide bad whiskey.
Actual rock candy, like we know it, like rock candy.
Yes. Yep. Right. Yeah, and it's actually a class type for the TTB, much like bourbon is a class type and rye is a class type. Rock and rye is its own class type for the TTB. So in our spirit house, this was on the cocktail menu when we opened, and it was our #1 selling cocktail for the first 8 months of operations. And it was so popular, people loved it so much that we just said, we got to scale this up and put it in the bottle and sell it. And so we did, and we're having a ton of success with it. That won double gold in San Francisco and best in class for ready to drinks. So best in class, double gold. Yeah.
And what the best in class for what was it?
RTD, ready to drink.
Ready to drink. This is beautiful. So you add an element of rock candy, of fruits. What do you put in this?
Yeah. So that's rye whiskey base. It's the same rye whiskey that's in our Jones House American whiskey. So it's a 4-year-old rye whiskey, straight rye whiskey. And then we infuse cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, allspice, star anise, ginger, gentian root, lemon peel, orange peel, red raisins, golden raisins, dried cherries, and then Demerara simple syrup is the rock candy element.
Amazing. So, this is so delicious. And it does feel like just a really, and I've had the rock and rye category before, but it's something that you just don't see every day that's ready to drink. This feels like a beautifully crafted cocktail that's just there, made in front of me. But it actually comes in a bottle, and there's some complex. I get the clove, all those things. I get the spices.
Balance.
It's really interesting.
Balance is really important to us.
Yeah.
Every time we make it, we wholly infuse those botanicals in the rye whiskey. So there's no cheating. There's no essential oils, anything like that. It is true. Drop it in a muslin bag, put it in the rye whiskey, and we're constantly tasting it and trying to get the balance right from batch to batch. So balance was super important to us. And then it's an RTD. It's called Automatic Jones because it's automatic. You pour it on ice, maybe a twist of orange or a fancy cocktail cherry, and you're ready to go. There's no
What's
BS
in this gentleman's hand here? Is that a
That's a microphone, old school mic.
That's what I thought. It looked like an old school microphone there. It's automatic. Do you have any other RTD cocktails?
We do. There's a couple in the works. One is a martini, a gin martini. We actually call it the freezer martini. So instead of having to get the mixing glass and the vermouth and the bitters and all that stuff, we've done all that for you. We've blended it so that you can just keep it in your freezer, pull it out, pour it into a glass, and you have a martini ready to go. There's no stirring, no shaking if that's your thing. Please don't shake your martinis. Thank you. Yeah, so we have a martini we're working on. We're working on a dirty martini, which would be a vodka base with some saline, some olive, saltiness to it. Working on an old fashioned and a handful of other ones. So we really see in a post-COVID world, people spending more time at home, and people kind of wanting to learn more about how to make things at home. Right. And so we think that the RTD category is going to be pretty big. So
yeah, it's ready to drink, ready to go. This is really, I got a little cube here, a lot of nice complexities that just shine through, and what a fun old school cocktail. What's this go for a bottle?
That one is low 40s.
Low 40s. Yep. And at 80, it's at 80 proof too. So it's
it's
good.
Yeah.
It's a good, it's a good it's strong, but not too strong, but it has some nice strength to it. But once you put the ice on there, it's just the way the cocktail should be. So this is perfect for people that are in Colorado. Where's the best place to find your products? Is there any place for people to order outside of Colorado, I guess, too?
That's a really good question that somebody brought up the other day. There are a handful of larger liquor stores in the state that I believe have licenses to ship outside of the state. I would encourage you, because all of our retailers are, partners in this, to go to our website, and there's a finder on there. You can type in a zip code, type in a city, and it'll find the closest liquor store to you. There are a handful of really great larger liquor stores in the state, and smaller boutique shops that'll ship stuff as well. So I'd rather not call out one or two individually, because they're all friends. So
there's a lot of great ones that carry it. There's your website, thefamilyjones.co. So make sure you remember it's familyjones.co, because the .com, it belongs to some family or something, you said, or what's
it belongs to a family who has a reunion, and I think they haven't had their family reunion for a number of years, but we wrote to them and asked them if they were interested in selling it, and they weren't. So we ended up with .co, which kind of works because we're in Colorado. So
hey, it makes sense. It's a good way to remember, thefamilyjones.co. And again, this is a real pleasure having you, as we do this every night on BourbonBlog.com/live. Make sure as you've watched it, if you've joined us kind of late, you can go back. It's going to be up permanently on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you're watching. Make sure you like it and share it as well, so we can continue to help out great craft distilleries like the Family Jones. And always feel free to drop me a line at tom@bourbonblog.com if you want to talk whiskey, or us hosting a tasting, be it in person or virtually, for you. And this is great. I'm really excited to see you again, Rob. We've had some great times over the years. Hopefully we'll be back to Colorado.
Do you remember that crazy dinner in the Rack House at Breckenridge that first year?
Yes.
We brought in a caterer, and we had sweetbreads. And, yeah.
Was that the one that had like 11 courses or something?
Oh yeah. It was. We were sitting there all chatting, and there was 20 of us or so, and the courses just kept coming. It was amazing.
It was the never-ending courses of dinner and all these great cocktails, and to have enough. My wife Annabelle and I still talk about this. To have enough room, kind of in our bellies, we ran around the distillery. Back then, it wasn't quite as big as it is now. We ran around the distillery like 5 times in the cold to try to feel like we were hungry again. So.
Yeah, because the food was all amazing. There was just so much of it, but it was amazing. You did not want to eat it. Yeah, you had to eat it.
That was a fun time there. And they got rid of all the barrels, and they didn't get rid of all of them, but they kind of moved the barrels around, and we had dinner. So that's great, and I hope they're doing that. I think that it's scheduled. Is it
still on the hill?
Still on the hill? Is it happening this year?
I don't know. I'm sure it is. It's usually in October, so they probably haven't canceled or moved anything yet from October.
It looks like I'm going to their, looks like it is happening there October 9th through 11th, 2020. So hopefully we will be back for that too. I had this magical tool. I can put that up there as well. That was something from the other day. That was the Cigar for Warriors. Another good website to check out. But here we go. I'll put this one up. Boom. Did that work? We're still okay. Long title, BreckenridgeCraftSpiritsFestival.com. That would be great. Anything else coming up we should be looking out for? We should be looking out for your distillery opening, your downtown experience in Denver reopening. Anything else that's coming up for you guys?
Yeah, we're working on a couple of pop-ups around town, you know, at least until the hospitality world goes back to somewhat
Right.
normalcy. There's going to be, you know, people are going to have to get creative. So we're working on some pop-ups, a barbecue pop-up, and just a couple other things. Nothing really I can announce yet because all the details haven't been ironed out yet. But yeah, just keep an eye on our Instagram and our Facebook. We're always doing fun stuff. So.
Excellent. And you can find that those links by going to thefamilyjones.co. Rob, thank you so much. It's so great to see you. It was great tasting these spirits with you. I'm a fan of all of them. I think you've done an exceptional job with these, and great to see you, man. Hopefully we see you again soon in person.
Cheers.